This is Ray Swick speaking from room 307 in the Hotel Gregory on 4th Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. It has been an adventure getting here today with John Webb and Harvey Barger and John Rockhold the Younger. We started from Parkersburg, West Virginia at Nelson's Drugstore at 11:37 a.m. this morning, and we headed down Route 50. And it rained on us most of the way. We went down Route 50 to I-79 North, where we, at Morgantown, hit I-68 East, and from there we hit, what was it, John, 70, and then
Yes.
I-81 North, and hit I-78, which took us into Brooklyn. And we stopped to eat at the Park and Dine in Hancock, Maryland, at 3:27 p.m. And it continued raining on us. The New Jersey Turnpike was a delight, wasn't it, John? Because it wasn't crowded at all.
No, wasn't
The
crowded.
only problem we had was keeping up with John Webb and Harvey Barger, who were in their rented car ahead of the funeral home, the Vaughn Funeral Home vehicle, which John Rockhold and I were riding in. And we reached the Holland Tunnel 3 times before we finally got to it. At least we thought we were there. And we got a little confused on our directions. One man told us we missed the Verrazano Bridge when actually we hadn't gotten to it yet. So we went through 2 tunnels. We got through the Holland Tunnel, and then we got through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. And we got in Brooklyn, and by annoying passers-by, we finally found the Hotel Gregory. And there, John Webb and I had a further adventure. We were assigned to room 203, and when we got into it, most of his curtains were gone and his blind was down. So we decided that wouldn't do, so we summoned the housekeeper, and she very kindly brought us up here to room 307. And that's where this filming's going on. And tomorrow morning, bright and early, we get up and we go to the Duffy Funeral Home, which is just 5 blocks from here. And then we're going to tour it, and they're going to lead us over to Manhattan, and we will need leading to the Marble Cemetery, where we hope very much to locate the remains of Margaret Blennerhassett and her third son, Harmon Jr.
Well, we look like a mess, but it's now the evening of the 21st. We are in Brooklyn, New York. And I say we, I'm talking about myself, Dr. Ray Swick, Harvey Barger, and the Honorable John Webb. And we are here, of course, to return Margaret back to the island along with her son, Harmon Jr. I've just talked with Robert of Duffy Funeral Home. We'll be meeting with them in the morning at 8:30 at the funeral home, proceeding from there down to Marble Cemetery on 2nd Avenue in Manhattan, New York. Following that, we're supposed to return back to Duffy's. They said after this much time, 2.5 years, they're going to feed us lunch. And then, of course, hopefully then a safe trip back to Parkersburg with our 2 special guests at that time. And it's been 2.5 years in waiting. When I called Bob's wife, I told her he'd been waiting to see me in person for 2.5 years. And he was glad that I've gotten this far. So it's been a great trip, and well worth the fun.
John, what have you got in your folders?
This is correspondence that you and I have done, that we have done with E.I. DuPont, with the State Park Association, with the Honorable Alan Mollahan and Jay Rockefeller and Robert C. Byrd. It's also with the letters that we have sent going all the way back into the spring of 1994 when this idea came up, by the way, by a talk that you gave at North Parkersburg Kiwanis, and John Webb asked the question, where are they and why can't they be brought back? And from that question, today we have arrived at our destination, and we have letters containing all this, from the request for disinterment to letters to the Lowen firm at the headquarters, to the Lowen firm here, which is Robert Armando, which is with the Joseph Duffy Funeral Home in Brooklyn, who has done a lot of legwork for us here. Calls we have made, all the background data that Ray has collected over the years of who is where, We did all the collateral descendants in order to have the proper documentation from the family for the proper permission. We've covered historical background about that. We have copies of notes of books, magazine articles, anything and everything, including a list of who is in the vault, the underground mausoleum that we're going to tomorrow. And the most important piece of paper we have is a copy, and Joseph Doug Funeral Home has the original of the disinterment order for both Margaret and Harmon Jr. And
Now if we can only find them.
we're going to find them.
I see there are 23 interments in the mausoleum. So there are 2 of those 23.
Right, along with the fact that there has been 2 removals in that time frame.
There were 25. I was counting
Right.
the 2 removals.
So I'm saying total there would have been 25, and now we're down to 23, and we have dates
So
and
we
where to
hope to
look.
make it 21.
That's right, and plan on not leaving anybody behind. Tomorrow morning, the Wilbert Vault Company of Staten Island and Bryan Hall will remove the opening, allow us to get down to the steps down to the mausoleum, and from there it's cross your fingers time that we find these folks and bring them home.
God willing.
Amen.
Well, here we are at Duffy's Funeral Home. We've just arrived. It's 8:10 a.m. on May 22, 1996. And we're going to have a little tour of this facility, and then we're going to proceed to the Marble Cemetery.
We're running, Dr. Swick.
We're following Timmy, who doesn't have a last name, from Duffy's Funeral Home. We're not quite sure where we are.
We're on FDR Drive.
We're on FDR, but
We're in Brooklyn.
still in Brooklyn. And we're on our way to the Marble Cemetery. That's Timmy up ahead, KHU 698, state of New York.
And you look at all these apartment buildings. Left here. Everywhere. Of course, they have a nice, river view.
Yes, we just passed the Fulton Fish Market.
And a couple nice sailing ships.
Yes, yeah.
With a high mast and everything. And a floating hospital. And we also went by the Downtown Athletic Club where they awarded the Heisman Trophy. Exactly. But we're still got our hands full right now, keeping up with Timmy in the car.
8:46 a.m. S-T-U-R-G-I-S?
Yes, Sturgis. Pleasure. We appreciate you doing this.
Yeah.
No, it's not evidently. I don't know about that door.
Mental injury.
Is this all? Some moment, huh?
Yes, yes, we waited for this long time.
Actually entering the cemetery, and as you can see, the people are working on the site of the tomb.
What do you think, John?
Very exciting moment.
You got a union card? And Jer's, put Jerry. K-O-S-A-N. What is it? K-O-S-A-N-K-I, Jerry?
K-O-S-I-N-K-A.
I-N-K-A.
You work for Duffy's?
We work for all companies who works for Duffy's.
And then,
But if he tells us
what's the name of the vault
we hit the ground. Wilbert, W-I-L-B-E-R-T, Vault, Upstat S-T-A-T-E-N.
Harvey Barger out checking some of the other stones in this cemetery.
I've never gone that far.
Who are you? I'm the historian of West Virginia State Park.
Oh, really?
Based at Blennerhassett Island. State Park. State Margaret and her son. But that's where they live. He was born there. We reconstructed their home.
Really?
Yeah, they read house that island.
This is looking at the west end of the cemetery. I derived that from the fact the sun's over my right shoulder.
You're here, John, a part of history.
Yes, John, it's very exciting to be here.
Definitely something we're doing.
Her husband named Harmon. His son with him is buried here in Jr.
How old are your sons?
He was 15. She was 7.
Looking towards the east end of the cemetery, which I'd already filmed earlier, but I'm sort of standing in the middle of the cemetery. The gate is directly, and there's the gate. And as you can see from this shot here, the grave site is all just to the right of the straight.
John asked the question, where are they? And then how come they can't be brought home? It's his fault.
Oh.
Okay, it says the dedicated landmark of New York, the New York City Marble Cemetery, New York's second non-sectarian cemetery, was started in 1831, 1 year after the first. The underground family vaults are individually marked by many monuments. James Lennox, a founder of New York Public Library, is buried here as well as two mayors of New York, Stephen Allen and Isaac Farron. Other notables interred here are Preserved Fish, a prominent merchant, James Henry Roosevelt, founder of the Roosevelt Hospital, Moses Taylor, the financier, Joseph Lloyd Stevens, the architect, archaeologist, and the Kip family of Kip's Bay. The plaque is provided by the New York Community Trust. And of course, more importantly, who we're interested in is the Blennerhassett's Margaret and her son Harmon Jr.
Fair folder I have. Henry Shady.
How do you spell your last name, please?
S-H-R-A-D-Y. Henry M. And I thought you might like to look through that record. A lot of it correspondence from you yourself, but there are other things in there that you might find distinction. New York. Make the truck up, man, and then see why I'm waiting. The first one, or was it no, the other one is 1831. This one started in 1832, so they're a year older.
Did you get his name on the...
No, I didn't.
Order? This is Henry M. Schrady, who is the secretary of the New York City Marble Cemetery Association.
No,
Just the cemetery. They told us to dress informally. To go down. I'm worried that we don't have any flashlights. Do you think that? Do you know anything about the construction of these?
well, indeed, it's depending on the angle of the sun. This bulb's going to be going this way. There's going to be a door that will open. You won't be able to see well, but it's a fairly large opening, and it's a hardware store on the
Oh, good. Very good.
You know, if we happen to just dig that out.
The last one you saw, did it have these holes in it? Yeah. Those are called Lewis holes. Lewis? Yeah, and you need certain pins for those things. They're like Lewis pins. Like nobody even carries them because you very rarely run into the spot. But if you ever have them, just let them know that they need Lewis pins. Lewis pins. Huh? Okay. Well, that'll make the job.
But nobody mentioned anything about fluid.
Well, maybe those guys had them with them. They're very rare, you know. They were like used way back then. Well, you've seen these with, yeah, but we've seen them with also, you know, huge metal rings on them. Yeah, that's what I've usually seen. With what? You don't want to get that spread under a little more? Yeah, I know. Let me see. I don't know if that's going to stay. I think you need more of it. Yeah, you're gonna need more of a photo. You know what, Jerry? You're gonna have to break all the...
You'll be able to read anything on there.
Now if something happens with you, your son or somebody will take over as the...
Well, if I die in the near future, sure. There'll be a new election by the Board of Trustees and somebody else will be appointed. But Helen Roosevelt is taking over for me next year. I served 5 years as secretary, and we sort of take turns.
Okay.
Yeah, you got a lot to go.
Okay, slide.
Some thoughts, Doctor?
I hope we find something. Something we can take home.
Go up, make sure that's on solid ground, Andrew.
Yes, you can...
Solid?
No.
Alright, let's see. Hold on.
No, you can do Wi-Fi. Get another stop.
Now, we're okay. Get ready. Go down. Go down. That's gonna be, I don't know how much it's gonna be.
Somebody at the door from the last time, looks like.
Hey, let me get the ball. Jerry, where's the program?
We're going the other way, John.
Did you bring it with
We're
you?
going this way.
Back this way. Where? Initials or that one?
Right. This is weird. Yeah, I need a shovel. There's a casket down here.
Is there?
Yeah, deeper. This one?
Thank you.
Are you doing some bone picking too?
Huh?
Are you gonna do some bone picking?
I don't know. We're going to go down. Yeah, why not?
Are you gonna go down?
Yeah.
Come on, Tim, get your clothes now.
Got it, man. I actually think I should jump off into the grave. So we'll walk on it. You want to brought some boots?
Jerry. Thank you.
John.
This one's about the break. Anybody have WD-40?
Yeah, looks like this.
one's gonna snap.
You think you want the dirt out there that might
Yeah, that's not holding it. It's
Oh,
the,
okay. We had a
thing
key
is-
hole there, didn't it?
Looks like it. I got you now. The blind man.
I mean, does it matter if it breaks?
On the door. Looks like what breaks.
Huh? If that hinge breaks, does it matter?
It might be why this other's over here standing open too, you know?
Oh, that's the one pulled out of the things.
It'll say, I mean, one of these reasons why.
But I mean, who's
want to get a ladder.
who's the big boss?
Want to get a
He
ladder.
was to get the ladder, yeah.
Well, it'd be better if it was gonna break. It breaks now.
Oh, it's coming now though. There's more dirt there. I think it's bigger. That's cool. Anything else you can say?
All right. Ready?
What's that white stuff laying on the ground?
Mold.
Camera's running.
That metal with the white top.
Maybe under the roof is what I said.
How far does the guy went to get a ladder? How long?
1830. 42 for her, 54 for him.
54 for him, yeah.
Yeah, you need that. 20. Doesn't that look?
Doesn't that look like? Hey, look what we just found, boys. Yeah. What is this? It's another Emmett, isn't it? Yeah, Emmett. Anna. Emmett.
Just turn it around.
Emmett, that's what it is. Emmett on the end. John Emmett.
Was there a Jane Emmett, wasn't there?
Doesn't have a middle initial.
Right here.
No, this here's John. This here is John Patten Emmett.
Well, probably somewhere in here there's a middle name in this volume. But all I have on this
Died
list-
August 13th, 1842.
All right, he's before our records.
Okay, so his nameplate that far back. He's here on the second shelf to the left, right? Hey boys, guess what?
Harmon.
Blennerhassett, B-L-E-N-N-E-R, Blennerhassett died 1842. Margaret. There it is. She's in the second shelf. She's in the third shelf down.
Well, is it marked by a casket? I mean, do you know which?
Casket's behind it, Ray. There ain't nothing.
No, there's only 2 caskets in there. Like the rest of the
Ray, come around here, buddy. Go this side over here.
Way to go, Doctor.
He had died June 16th, 1840.
Way to go.
Okay, where you at, Ray?
Here.
All right, you see where the light is here? Come here, lean over the edge here.
Well, he can see better, I think, back there in the back.
Where? Okay, you see right here? See that plate is right there?
Uh-huh.
I just removed that plate from right there. The only thing down here
It's on a
is just bits and pieces of board and stuff.
No bones?
Well, not really. A lot of dirt.
Well, that's the bones that left.
Yep.
So we'll just clean that shelf out if we have to.
Yep.
The only thing is
That'll be the
the
remains.
floor. That's the big question.
Well,
Well, the floor should be stone.
yeah, but
Maybe the dirt on the top, on the dirt is stone. No, big shovel and
I think those are caskets down there.
It's got
Matt, come on back.
okay, well, that's that thing.
Can I come down and see?
Need to worry about it's all in there good.
Kind of sore.
Come on, lay that
You just get down a little further. You have to drag your feet around too.
We're supposed to have hard
I put that plate right over there on that flower
If
pot.
something happens, you're in trouble. Your license is revoked. It's all right. This is against OSHA regulations. We didn't think it was this deep, so we didn't bring our hard hats.
That's what they're wearing.
Excuse me?
That's what they're wearing.
Oh.
Oh, it's a hard head.
Yeah, it's
You with a hard hat.
It's only 15 grand, so it's not a big deal. I'd be careful with that thread on there.
That's all there is right there. But that's where the plate came off of.
Right, that's what the
So there's left is there.
Everything's just disintegrated down on the floor.
Yeah, well, see, there's something wrong with the floor, because in this one it looks like it's solid. And this one is a big hole, you know, and that's why...
Might be another
I think there's somebody buried down there in the hole.
Skull there. Skull back there. One of the part right there.
Are you related to him?
As Dr. Ray Swick and John Rockhold survey the remains of Margaret Blennerhassett on this historic moment.
Part of the funeral home.
Well, the Phillips is
Those shiny whites.
gotta have a little, right?
This is being taken on May the 22nd, 1996. Harvey Barger's holding the marker off the casket, nameplate off the casket, and this is Margaret Blennerhassett's nameplate. We have located the casket, and as you've seen in the previous film, Dr. Swick and John Rockhold are down there in the tomb, or at the door of the tomb, and in the vault, and we're getting ready to proceed from that point. Very historical moment. It's just been a wonderful trip, and it's all being climaxed now with the actual finding of the remains of Margaret Blennerhassett.
The nameplate itself appears to be made of brass, and the name is etched on there, and the date of death. So it survived fairly good. It's corroded, but it's apparently survived the years it's been in there.
They just brought up the other name tag, and whose is this one, Harvey?
Harmon Jr. And he died in 1854. I believe it's in August, I believe.
So
1854, and it's another brass plate with a name etched on it. They were placed on top of the caskets with screws, and apparently the lid of the casket was wood. There are still pieces of the wood clinging to the screws that were used. Everything is corroded, but the name is very apparent.
how wonderful.
So we've now found both resting places for both of them.
For Margaret and her son, right?
Right.
Wonderful. We found them, or what's left of them. It's a very small room. The bottom, right blocking, almost blocking the doorway, is a heavy casket going oblong away from you. To the left and the right are rotten pieces of wood, remains of bones, and we found two nameplates, which were Emmett's. This is the Emmett family vault, of course. The third one that John found, Rockhold, was Margaret's. She's buried to the left of the door, 148. There are two vaults down there, and 147 doesn't have anything in it. She's buried in the lower shelf to the left of the door, and we found her nameplate and some wood, and I suppose some bones mixed up with what's left of them. So we're going to very reverently and tenderly put those in what do you call those, air containers? Air trays. In an air tray for transportation back to Duffy's funeral home. Then John spied another nameplate to the right of the door down below, and he got a long shovel, which is how he got Margaret's nameplate out also, and lifted it up as Harmon Jr. I really, when we found her, I thought, well, this is, you know, the good Lord's been very good to us. We're not going to find any more than her, but we found him too, or what remains of it.
As they unload the containers that we're going to use to transport Harmon and Margaret back to their Allen home.
Oh yeah, you can see.
Yeah, it is. Real slow. Move it real slow.
Do you have any idea what's wrong with that bird?
He's probably dead.
He sat there ever since we arrived.
Well, he's dying. Maybe swimming.
Representative. Yeah, Mac, that one fair keeps going.
Think that's good enough?
Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
Who the blue furs is he?
Did you get the two remains, her on the left and him on the right?
I think like it's everything.
He had the flashlights on her.
Yeah. Right there.
Flashlights are now on the remains of Margaret Blennerhassett. And your right, down at the bottom, and the bottom right, where he's gone to now, is the remains of
Harmon Blennerhassett Jr.
Yeah, Harmon Blennerhassett Jr.
Oh, he is.
Is that the bottom one?
I think it's like a tail.
Stick it out of there. I'm gonna go back in.
John Rockhold oversees the removal of the remains.
Of Margaret Blennerhassett. You want to get over here? Can you see better, John?
All right, boys, girls.
And Margaret Blennerhassett remains
Yeah, we got one piece of plastic up on the far end there.
is being passed out.
Oh, excuse me.
Yep.
Timmy, can you set another one of them up like that?
Set it up there by her nameplate then. Then we got what we get over this from here, we got to dump again on that same one, so don't close it up yet. We can put her together. Still more her. Huh? Oh, it is? More her. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Well, them roll. Boom. That's all you.
Don't smile.
Yeah. Don't smile when I'm just. Yes. Set the sides up there. I know Tim's got experience. Marv's got experience in. Is there more of it yet? Yeah. It'll take it. Set those up. The ends up there. And I'd set her towards the head there. We may just put them all in one. Instead of double stacking them. Wait a minute.
You set it down on the bag there.
Yeah, no, sure. You just kick that house there back.
Now you got her name plate?
You gonna put him in here too?
Yeah.
Are you? Yeah.
Caretaker of the cemetery. Secretary of the association.
That's it. That's her. That's good. Yeah. All right. Box for him now.
You want to set the other box up? I'll get this way.
Yeah, okay. So when we get back, I want this to the museum.
Well, I know, but right now I want it here.
Those screws are on there. I didn't put a screwdriver or anything. I just put you can do it.
Blennerhassett is ready to begin her trip back to the Allen home that she left. For the generations that come after us that see this, it's a very, very moving moment. Very historical.
Oh, you okay? Yeah.
Now, there we go. Okay. Mr. Shreddy?
Yeah.
Right here.
The remains are being put in an air tray to be transported back to the Allen home, and back to Vaughn's funeral home in Parkersburg, West Virginia, where they'll be transferred into caskets.
No. What I want to do, I want to get from here out to the Suburban now.
As Margaret is being loaded into the Suburban for the trip back,
From Vaughn Funeral Home.
Vaughn Funeral Home. Remove the remains of Harmon Blennerhassett Jr.
When you're not taking the plate, John taking the keys, I'm having a heart attack here.
We're hanging on to it.
Did he lock the keys in?
No.
They're making fun of me because I left we thought I'd locked the keys in the Suburban. Actually, I left them hanging in the door.
Well, see, now that's because of the honesty of New Yorkers, so nobody touched it.
Oh, that's right. That's how good we are here.
We're taking up for Tim here.
That's right.
Tim's a native. We got to take up for him.
John Rockhold's down the tomb site, supervising the removal of the remains of Harmon Blennerhassett Jr.
Every day.
I'll be happy with that.
Make the paper.
We're going to be giving you some big chunks here, boys. Hello?
They don't even coming up with a box.
No. We got more bones of Harmon.
Looks like about the only bones left.
Well, we got more. We have one femoral of hers and two of his. So. Yeah. So.
This might be a 12 years
10 years
later.
10 or 12.
12 later, but that's still.
It's amazing.
It really is a treasure crowd.
Whatever would ever guess.
Didn't expect that.
Did anybody have any idea or concept what we were going to find? I didn't. No. I mean, yes.
Sure, that's what we're doing the whole.
Huh?
Sure, that's what we're doing the whole.
Really? Well, there's one on the other side over here. It's really dead dry. No, it isn't. That's not the other. That's the femur there. The other one was there. The other was tibias.
You said they were femur.
Well, I'm sorry. I was looking for the thing.
Is there tibias?
Tibias, yeah. I'm telling you wrong. I'm handing them out here. I'm just surprised to get them.
And what was this?
Is that there in the femur?
Is there a coffin down there?
There is one, but not here. There's a partial.
Because what I've seen is the
Yeah.
some of them are there, so this is another
hip
This knee thickness. Yeah.
You say the smaller bone is a rib bone?
No, they're not. No, they're not like that. Anything like it. They're like
24 feet?
yeah. There's basically, I mean, like we can only count about what we counted. We got 5 skulls. That's all we counted. Yeah. And none of them are the size of the rats. You know what we need.
What's that?
Is it fever? See that part there at ball sock? That goes in your hip. That's what you talk about people getting a broken hip.
Timmy, would you say he was very tall?
I would say, yeah, I would say he's good 5'10", 5'11". Pretty much average height. Yeah, I would say something,
airmail it down to our
Can we restore him? Restore his heart?
Wait a minute.
Harmon Blennerhassett Jr.'s remains being lifted from as the last of the remains of Harmon Blennerhassett Jr. is brought up. Okay, we're actually down on the team level again. Harvey Barger and John R. Webb on May the 22nd, 1996, and we've just finished removing the remains of Harmon Blennerhassett Jr. and Margaret Blennerhassett Jr. or Margaret Blennerhassett from the vault here in the New York Marble Cemetery.
That's the New York City Marble Cemetery.
New York City Marble Cemetery.
It's a different one. Okay, these are the remains of the other receptacles that were reposed in this vault of the Emmett family and relatives. And you can see by this that the caskets have all disintegrated,
Now,
assuming they were all wood.
was Margaret where your light's showing now?
Right in there.
This is
down there.
Yeah, the actual spot down below.
Right.
Yeah, shine your light down there. They can at least see the light.
That area down
Right
there.
in there is where Margaret Blennerhassett actually reposed these many years. And
Harmon was in this area over here. I believe down.
I believe Jr. was in where the light is now showing in the lower section.
The
And
lower right shelf.
lower right shelf. This is just an awesome moment. Just awesome.
This is all
They leave something here?
stone or block laid up with the earth over it.
What would you say we're down, Harvey? 6 feet or better?
They're probably from the top, we're down about 8 feet. And the bottom of this vault is about 10 feet.
Do you think it's a good idea to put it back?
Your call. You're the one doing it.
The ones that were laying there,
Where did this go?
Okay, I'm going to pass the camera back up to Dr. Swick, who's going to get a picture of Harvey and myself. It is running, Doctor. We're standing down here at the vault, and this is a very awesome and solemn moment. This is some idea that I came up with and made the question to Dr. Swick about it, and this is the accumulation, the end result of 3 years of very dedicated work of a good many people. It's very nice to be here and take part in this. Some profound thoughts, Mr. Barger.
John brought the thought to me first, and we discussed it, and I didn't really believe it
Can you speak up a little bit, Harvey?
didn't really believe it was a situation where we'd ever see the end of it, but as the work went on, investigation, it seemed a little more viable as we went along, but I still had some doubts until we actually saw it done. So I'm thankful at that.
Thank the dear Lord.
Push the red button, Dr. Swick, on the other side on the trigger there. We're getting ready to leave the New York City Marble Cemetery. Take one last shot of it. Both Margaret and Harmon Jr. are loaded, and the Suburban, and Harvey's there with his camera, and Dr. Swick is still over in the cemetery talking to the Cemetery Association secretary. And there's John standing by the Suburban, furnished by Vaughn Funeral Home of Parkersburg.
And Chief Funeral Directors, Mr. Harvey Barger, and myself, John Rockhold. And may we say that's a very successful completion to an amazing story. Yeah. Come on, Ray, let's go.
Look at the chain.
That's the Manhattan right there.
We're on our way back from the cemetery and heading back to Duffy's funeral home. Tim's doing the driving from the funeral home. They've been very gracious and helped us a good bit. A great bit, not a good bit, a lot. And we've invited Tim to come and be with us when we do the actual reinterment. We're headed for the Brooklyn Bridge. Is that it in the background?
The second one is the Brooklyn.
Okay, there's the Brooklyn Bridge right there. Anybody want to buy a bridge? It's for sale. Just talk to me.
Up there is the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center.
And off in the distance, hopefully, I've got it, is the Twin Towers for the World Trade Center.
There we go.
Yeah, there they are. I got them.
All right.
Needing to go up on the Brooklyn Bridge. By the way, Tim, how do you account for the fact you don't have a Brooklyn accent?
I thought I did. I do.
I think that all the movies I've ever seen that where there's supposed to be people from Brooklyn, it was probably the actors.
I'm sure it was. And you have a few people that do speak like the movies, but I have it. You'll hear it on the tape.
We're now crossing the Brooklyn Bridge. We're getting ready to depart. We're going back to Duffy's funeral home, where Tim and some of his associates have graciously going to provide lunch for us before we leave. Now, is this a double-decker bridge?
No, it's not. Right up here is a walk path. You walk across.
In Brooklyn, this is the Williamsburg Saving Bank.
Yes.
And
Right poor family.
Also, Tim gave me a note, and Al Capone actually lived somewhere in the neighborhood close by the Duffy Funeral Home where we are headed for now.
When he was a boy.
When he was a boy. And then you say they shipped him out because to Chicago, right?
That's it.
To Tim that Al Capone came from here and forward maybe a block or two, and then about 2 blocks back behind us. Just a little footnote in history there. Here we are arriving back at the Duffy Funeral Home.
Pretty much. It was good. They did good work. They're nice people. And they make good food.
Have they been there a long time?
Yeah, they've been there a while.
No,
You know,
it's
and then another little information, that used to be Duffy's.
Is that right?
We were across the street.
The funeral home?
Is that what funeral home was, the one originally?
Yeah, 19... Oh, geez. This was built in 57. Actually, amongst other things, after we were in there.
We're having our lunch provided by the Duffy Funeral Home here in Brooklyn, New York. Tim, our gracious host. And we just found out that the deli where these sandwiches and stuff was purchased was the original funeral home at one time.
Did they
Ready to leave for home.
Oh, all right,
Ordered Jurassic to come to our aid when we ran out of gas on the way back. He works for the Branch Road Ashland station.
Hey Johnny, look in here now. The gas gauge don't work!
Maryland at the Park and Dine restaurant where we ate yesterday evening. Now we're returning to Parkersburg, and this is our last stop. We've gassed up here also, and we're on our last run.
It's been a long, hard 2 days.
Yes, 2-day trip to New York and back to recover 19th century bodies is an arduous experience.
But I think it's worth it. Myself, personally.
Yes, very much so.